in sport. For example, the sponsor gave Nike. Nike sponsors the player Ronaldo. It didn't stop Real Madrid from actually getting that player, showing that the actual negotiations being profit based don't actually interfere with the decisions made by the club in getting actual players and acquiring them and drafting them. Also, they made mention of easily corruptible organizations. Many countries, clubs have football federations that are already impacted with anti-corruptible organizations already to combat this particular problem. And they made mention of the fact that these particular funds are unbiased and are not necessarily profit-driven. Yes, they may be unbiased and they may not be profit-driven, but what are the flaws? Now, this will be what our case is centered about. First, the fact the emotional reason, secondly, job allocations, and third, efficiency. Now, moving to my first point, which is emotional reasoning. Now, allowing these funds to veto into players' personal decisions now. They already hold emotional attachments to the club, as the first speaker already made mention of. And this particular emotional attachment is what really pushes them, is what already pushes them to make this particular decision. They make decisions based on emotional attachments to the club. For example, like a variety of things like make a player's past, background, or race. As we can see in an example of in 2008, Samuel Eto'o and Barcelona. Now, this particular player, Samuel Eto'o, the Barcelona Fan Association, which was actually had power at that time to involve themselves with the organization and the club's decisions, according to the fact that they should not longer play for the club. We did see this and how the true racial slides at them and the rest during particular league, which caused it to leave the club. After this particular league, the Barcelona team did not actually have a trophy for the next 3 years, and the very next year, this particular player, which they vented for to leave the club, played against the Champions League final and won them. This is an actual example of how these particular fans are influenced by their emotions to get into this. Another example can be seen. Let's go outside of the racial facilities. Let's go into personal opinions about a particular player. We have in 2022 Manchester United and player Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, the fans tell this player as the problem. Now, the term was important because they did not like him. And now the fans association at that time didn't have their best to their decision and then to the club decision. What happened? He was able to leave the club. Ever since, as players, as the fans have now acknowledged, Manchester United has not been able to participate in the Champions League competition. So we see that due to that we are leaving the club because of this particular that we use these particular players. We see how bad it becomes. Now we don't completely want to diffuse the particular fans' opinions. Now we just see that it should not be a right for them to actually interfere in direct decision. While we are not as professional, as most clubs already have managerial committees, coaches, sporting directors, and the rest to actually enforce problems. Now, these rights we use to make opinions as this is not the status quo. You see clubs having press conferences with their fans to discuss about their opinions and all whatnot, not being actual rights which interfere with clubs' decisions. Also, moving into my second point, which is job allocations. Yes. Also, as I just said, all clubs already have actual departments who are equipped with the purpose. We have the managerial committee, which is helping the actual club and managing its players. Players also have managers who help them to get into a club and diversifying their options. Now, we see that these fans, yes, in some particular clubs or countries already have an organization that pushes their directives, pushes their agendas they want to create. But now, you can't bring in these fans with personal opinions and, as I earlier said, emotional decisions, vent into actual organizations that have been put in place that push for these particular agendas, like the managerial committee, when they sit down. These are actual professionals who have a job and are paid for that particular job, have studied for that particular job to sit where they are and make actual decisions. You can't have fans interfere with them because of mere personal decisions. Now, as a result of this, my second and third speaker will expatiate on job allocations and move into the third point, efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this inspiring speech. from the opposite. The proposition can speak. Sorry guys. None from a property object in the case that we have here.
Okay, so we'll start next group. I know you can expect 4 things from my speech. Firstly, explain to you why is it true that many companies and profit-driven owners are on sports. Secondly, why is it true that fans care the most about like the sport development and like what we're going to achieve compared to this kind of companies. Thirdly, how they're going to even they also take care about like financial stuff and all that. And fourthly, my new constructive argument on how you actually enhance even more the community sense and the community feeling that we have on our side. Firstly, why is it true that many companies and profit-driven people are, for example, the owners of these clubs? My first speaker already explained to you how there are like a lot of profit-driven companies that are, for example, clubs. It means, for example, companies that basically want to profit. What are the reasons that companies actually do that and buy some clubs? 2 reasons. Firstly, it is good. When we have competitions like the Libertadores or the UEFA Champions League, everybody, the whole continent, or even the whole world is watching. So if you have a company that has a name right, for example, and literally say like the name of your company before something like that, probably your company is going to like be shared overall. So you have an incentive to actually buy this company overall. But secondly, there's a huge amount of money in sales, and where you have like all these contracts. All the contracts that you have related to sponsors, all the sales that you make, for example, to other players who are, for example, playing abroad, everything that is related to football is going to generate a lot of money. And the reason for it is because a lot of people watch it. So by the moment that a lot of people watch it, the price, for example, for you ads, for example, is going to be extremely high. So on that, because like a lot of people are going to watch, so you have like a huge target, so the price consequently is going to be very high. So on that, every kind of price are going to be high. And it looks like, for example, transfers of like 100 million and all that. So why would it be good for companies or any kind of guy who's profit driven? Because you are going to be able to leave like the profit for your own. So you have like a contract for selling a player for $100 million, for example. The money from the sale probably is going to be kept with you. So the implication of this is that probably by the moment that this guy is like a businessman, he doesn't care a lot about like if this champion is going to be champion or overall or something like that. As my first explained too, he wants the profit. If he needs to sell his best player because he's going to be financially better for him, this is what he's going to do. This one I first already explained too. Second point then, why is it true that fans like care the most over the team like achievements compared to these companies? Probably what you have like as a question in our case is, oh, but probably if it was an owner of a team, it's going to be extremely good for you if your team like succeed. So you want the best players to be kept with you. Probably this is the question that you have to have. Why is it not a good budget proposition trying to bring this to you? The main reason to this is that companies and profit-driven people, they want guarantees. And the major point that you have to do with sports has no guarantees. So when you have like one season wonder and you have like a really good team now, probably the next season, if you buy some guy or if you sell some guy or if you keep some guy, not necessarily this guy going to, not necessarily this player is going to be good enough for the next season. Because probably because that like A, he can have like personal issues with his family that is going to compromise everything that he has. B, he can have problems related to like his integrity, like physical necessarily. So probably he's not like playing very well because he's dealing with problems related to his mental health or even like related to injuries overall, so things that can happen. But see, this is related to humans. Humans have mistakes, so not necessarily buying and keeping the good players is going to guarantee you like going, for example, for player winning the competition. It looked like super smooth. Brazil like lost the round of 16 in the last World Cup, and we have like really good players. This is the main reason why these stars they are not necessarily like maps. So on that, it's better for a company to say, I prefer to sell a player for 50 million today than probably having something underperforming and something like that, and I use everything that I have. Because I want the money guaranteed by the moments that I made an investment. So probably it has more tendency to sell this good player than keep this good player to actually keep playing. Because keep playing might be very bad for him, because he can like have problems on performing and over that. The impetus of all this thrown around is that probably when we think about the development of each related to like achievements for these teams, probably on our side we're going to be much better. Because probably it looks like so if on their side they try to sell, for example, a player that is extremely good just because the guy wants the profit of the sell, probably on our side we're not about that. We would say, no, you cannot do it. Because the team, the keepers that we have on our side, which are already explained the model, who are related, who are, for example, we have this kind of membership, who track the team, are not going to allow that. The mechanism that they try to push you against that are two. Firstly, because there are like non-corruption organizations on how necessarily this is going like to check and balance that. This is not about corruption, this is something legitimate. Like if you want a company and you want profit something like okay, this is not corruption. But secondly, they try to bring to you in their case how things are irrational. And I have two answers for that. Firstly, they never explain to you like why necessarily fans are so irrational, because they believe that they actually love their clubs, they are extremely related to it. So I don't see necessarily why they would like just sell players who they shouldn't or something like that. Probably they want the best for their team, so they have incentives for you because they want to be champion, they want to keep their team good financially. But secondly, it's not that irrational. Being very honest, what are you going to do? It's like a veto. So what are you going to do? Oh, a player that is playing very bad, probably that is like seems to everybody, but the moment that he runs out of contract, they're going to beat, for example, him for renewal. This is something that is not like the end of the world. This is something that is kind of rational because his fight isn't performing very well. Probably the guy who's in the board is like, oh, but this guy might have a future. Okay, but realize how these kind of sports, they are extremely imprecise and not necessarily they are going to be correct. So you really understand that they are not like correctly onto that. But thirdly, we have mitigation on our side of the control model. We already explained to you what these guys have, they have memberships and all that. So in a clear way here, even if you believe that this all that they try to do is true and they are going to do that, on our side, we are going to avoid, for example, a good player from going out. On their side, they are going to have a shot. Because probably what our side, what the guy on our side is going to do is this, for example, a player is playing very badly. On that, they will say, oh, but probably in the future he can play well. Realize when the comparison, I'm referring away on our side, because on our side we have something that is more guaranteed. We have keeping a good player. Even if it's unperceived, I actually believe that it's better to keep a good player that we are going to have on our side of the reason than the best case scenario of their side, like, oh, we let go a player that could be better for the future. It's better to have this guarantees versus the first the one on their side. So even if they are correct, we'll do this. On this financial stuff related, that's the third question. I don't really believe that related to this financial problems, they are going to like be, oh, completely crazy and all that. Because these people, they are have memberships, these people are related to this company. So they know how the business works. 5 years over a team, 10 memberships. I really believe that they think about like the financial aspects of their own team. It's not like they are crazy or something like that. Pior. 3, 2, 1, okay. On that note, I actually believe that, like, firstly, let's be charitable, he probably cares about his team, he knows that knowledge about football, but secondly, we also deal with that in the function model that Tyler explained, because Tyler explains how this guy, like, has some sort of plan. So you look like, for example, receive, for example, weekly notes on the decision, saying to you, like, oh, we want to do the decision as a bar for this specific reason, this is what Tyler did. So he probably knows the direction that he's going to follow. The fourth point I would like to talk about is about the sense of community. Probably by the moment they have like clubs, they're very related to your team. But every time they're not going to see you like, man, they don't even know about you. Why are you caring so much about them? This is basically what we're going to have on their side. What we're going to show on our side. Because probably now we're going to be able to actually feel that we're going to be part of this team. Because you are able to, for example, like take actions over it. You're going to be able to take action related to like literally the players that we are selling or the players that we're really opponents. The feeling of this guy is extremely related to these things that I have power over it. So I have two impacts by this guy feeling that he's empowering. Firstly, it's going to have like a unique look, so he's going to consume a lot of more products and will consume more tickets and even memberships by the moment that he wants to feel the power too. So by the moment that he wants to do that. But secondly, there are more investments because we have a unique community that consume a lot because they're actually feeling this power into its own. So on that, probably they're going to receive more investments to actually apply even more policies in the future and even good players.
allow fans to veto player personnel decisions of sports club. As I know position, right, we think that fans don't have a major role to play in the sports club. We think that the fans right to be limited just to opinions, right? We think that these fans are just made to support their favorite clubs in the public show, but not actually have like an interference into like their role of work, right? We think that there are many people put in place. We think that allowing these fans have the right to release, acquire, or draft players completely out of place. We think that these players really have coaches, financial committee members, managerial committee members, and sport directors who really know their greatness and their weaknesses. And we think that these people have an upper hand in making decisions on releasing, acquiring, and drafting players. Now, before I present my case, I'd like to do some free workouts. It's a proposition wanting to talk about that these sport clubs are more profit-driven than actually looking for the best. But we think that having to choose like their best players to present them in the public show, right, actually makes them gain more profit as we talk about profit-driven. Now, side proposition comments tell us that these administrators are corrupted, as the financial committees, coaches, directors, sport directors, and all of that are corrupt and just for profit. Do you really think that these people want profit, right? They're going to sell like their best players? How do they get their profit, right? Because now it's like the world that trying to do sales these administrators are trying to sell their best players just for profit, right? And now do you really think that having these best players to present them on the field do not also give them profit? We accept that these fans will have like help their clubs make choices, right? Like fixing infrastructure as you say. But now we deny the fact that these fans should have the right to make decisions of acquiring, releasing, and drafting players. Now, you talk about visibility, right? But don't you think that visibility will lead to efficiency? Don't you think that having these administrators want to be visible to the world, right? That means like putting their best to make their players the best. Now, another is this. Our main argument lies on efficiency, emotional reasons, and jobs. First, let's expand on what the first speaker said when he spoke on emotional reasons. Now, he used the example of Samuel in the Barcelona, where the Barcelona Fan Association, right, pursued Samuel out of this club. It's not pursued because he was not efficient, right? But this fan saw rejected. But this fan saw him as none of their own. They saw him as why should a black playing in the white club and all of that. So they removed him. Now the impact on Barcelona's association was the fact that they removed an efficient player, not because he was not efficient, but because he was not of their race. We see that these fans take support just the people they love. They could not check on efficiency, right? They just feel okay because I'm beautiful or I'm handsome. Let's just request that I want to today. Everybody loves Jude Bellingham, right? And we think that the sport directors actually know Jude Bellingham's greatness and weakness, right? We think that these sport directors know when Jude Bellingham can play the best and when he can play at his least. But these fans always want Jude Bellingham to be on stage and all of that. But these sport directors are actually like learning to live these players every day. They know when they are their best and they know when they are their worst. They know when they can play best and when they can produce the best results. So having these sport directors actually
why does one example of Barcelona, a very specific case that is very unlikely, would apply to all of the major cases?
This is very true and in all scenarios, right? Because we need to understand that these fans are their favorite players. Each and every one of us in this world today have the players that we always want to see on set. And this does not mean that these players are the best for the team, right? We actually see that this product does know when these players are at their best and their worst, as I earlier said. Now, for emotional reasons, we think that fans are more exclusive of the physical look and all of that. They tend not to look at the efficient players. They tend not to look as the most attractive players and all of that. But this product doesn't know when these players tend to be good and when they're going to be bad. Now, they said the first speaker also spoke on drugs. Now, we see that having given rights to fans, right, to to be able to acquire, release, or draft players, right, actually replace the people that have gone through training to be able to train these players. We see our financial committee members, we see our managerial committee members, we see our sport directors, we see our coaches. These are jobs for them. Having replacing their jobs with fans, right, having us to make decisions for these posters, then to replace these people having put in place in these posters, so actually direct players. Now, we think that proposition says they want the best for their team. Now, ask this question: do you really think that Barcelona first organizations removed Samuel just because he was not efficient? Now, another example of Jude Bellingham. Imagine that today the sports directors of Jude Bellingham's team actually say, okay, Jude Bellingham is going to stop playing for this period of time. Now, this is their first of this, like, oh, put Bellingham back, he's a good player, and all of that. But now this
this is not about the lineup that we're going to have. It's about like signing players or releasing players.
Okay, now you talk about signing players and releasing players, right? Now, do you think that this sport directors want to sign players that are not best for them? As you said earlier, these sport clubs are profit driven, right? They actually want the best for them. They're actually going to like what's going to show the public that they are good, which I think they're going to earn them more money, right? They're never going to take the list of their players and put into the public ground. But we see that this comes just someone like physical appearance, as I earlier said, emotional responses, one people out their team, one people that are their friends, one people that are their family members, right? But they tend not to look at efficiency. Bringing it down to my next IMF, which is efficiency. Now, our side believes that high sport directors like actually have the right to decide on which player based on the field on the field, right? Actually needs efficiency first because they train these players every day, right? That being programmed to work with these players. They know their weaknesses and they know their greatness. They know when they are their greatness. Like you said, after a training session, right? When they are ready for a public show, they know that okay, this person is efficient for this round. So that they can take the best of the best because you remind you of what I said, they are profit driven. So once they get best, actually acquire them more profit, right? And never going to take them. Somebody else going to like disgrace them on the public show. This is efficiency. Now, my lady next is Drew Bellingham as an elder said Samuel Eto'o, right? Samuel Eto'o was one of the best players in Barcelona's organization. But because the French did not like him because of probably racism, they removed him and it took up to 5 years for Barcelona to get his feet back. Now, look for efficiency. Having these sport directors like actually be able to control the sport team, they tend to know who's best. They tend to actually give out their best. Now, side proposition comes to tell us about these fans are not corrupted, they help these sport teams actually be grand, help sport teams actually grand all of that. Now we are looking at efficiency, right? They do not talk about efficiency, or they rely on our corruption and non-corruption, right? Now we think that these corrupted administrators actually want to like do cause an action documents their downfall, setting laws, they always look for the best. So if they're being corrupted at their best, which is corruption, right? We see that our side series, because being corrupted leaders want their nations to win. Even as much as an administrator is corrupt, right? We always want to give out the best to the world. And for this reason, we are proud to propose.
Thank you so much for this fine speech. And now we're going to appropriate the proposition to stand for the next speaker.
So it's a pleasure to be here with all. I'll start my speech in process. The main problem of this debate is that they don't understand how the sports actually looks like in both sides of the house. Notice that this is their reason for them. They have to do this in their next speech. What we have here in this debate? We have an extremely strategic case when we prove you one, how we have like one better decision on our side of the house, but more than this, how we also have like a strong community on both sides of the house. In this speech, 2 classes. The first one, how we have a better decision, and the second one, how we have all these sports, like all the issues. Before going to like choose guys, I have to make some things more clear in this debate. First, panel. It's like extremely clear how actually this member, like this fan, actually looks like, but more important is how is the power that this fan actually has in both sides of the house. First, we are explaining to you that one, this fans that we are saying is most is like most of the membership right that actually donates something for this part, for the club. Second, I believe he's extremely like a fan of all the sports and he like this sport, I would say club a lot of time. And third, panel was that there's a long time that this guy is in the team and they have 2 main impacts. The first one, they have also like the experience in this like the sport and also the team. They also knows how this actually works and how the things actually works. This is extremely important because one, we do have a good decision, not just because of his experience, but also because he loves the team. He like even take like a rational decision for all the teams. But second, how is the power that this guy has in his decisions? First, we already explained to you how we can only like veto something. I mean, that's so important. One, notice that can build all the decisions that they try to explain. The example that they gave for us, like the Barcelona stuff, is actually out of the debate. Why? Because this example is not like this defense could actually value something. This example is like when this defense could actually make some decisions and make some ideas for the club. It's not that they are debating in this debate. Second panel, notice that like on our team we have like a huge structure. Notice that the majority of the teams we have first the president after the council. This means that if they try to paint an odds and try to pass like a huge extreme idea, this won't pass probably because we have all the structures that are already mechanized for you. Notice that you might think now that like this can like minimize our impacts. This don't minimize our impacts. Because notice that we push you that the majority of the case we have like two main ideas. The first one that like can have like a benefit for the president, but also have like a minority idea that to actually pass the infrastructure stuff. This means that in our house we can veto like this bad ideas that comes from the president, and we can like support this minority, this idea that's in the minority. Is that where we are trying to defend in our house? What's the first question about the better decision? What if you're explaining this debate? That's really clear. First, that the fans have emotional feelings. You have two answers for you. The first, we already push you why won't be all fans that go actually make the decision. It's only like the fans that actually pays for the club and more than this. They are actually like infection with the club. They have good decision. Second, why is this still better than our house if it's all fans? First, if this fan have like a lot of emotional feelings that probably like he loves this probably like we will actually try to make that like make the decision stuff worse. Notice that he probably loves this part and it's inside a long time. This means that like if he loves and it's in the part in this part like a long time, this means that he probably won't do like a bad decision. They have to explain this in their speech. Second, panel notice this in the maximum symmetry. Why? Because also they never push us why the president of the club cannot do bad decisions. I mean, we already explained to you, when I show you how these parts are actually like working as some like business stuff. They have their own interaction. But third, notice that in the minimum we already have pushed you how we also have like this mechanism that will like checks and balances mechanism. We won't have this in our house. It's extremely clear. Second, notice that what we try to say that we already have mechanisms to like prevent corruption. This is not like in your house. The problem is that this mechanism is not effective. Why? Because corruption occurs in an extremely invisible way. It occurs like by passing specific contracts or like it occurs by choosing a specific player that will also help you to like gain more context with like special people. This is extremely important to know because like these mechanisms are not effective in the actual house. Why this matter? Because notice that the effective main stakeholder in this debate. First, the fact you are prioritizing your own interest instead of the team performance. It's the fact that also build the team, it's the fact that also like gave the money for you. You have to prioritize them. It only comes from proposition to propose. Second, there is this part. You are actually like making best things from our house because we are already explaining to you how we won't have like this bad decision and rational decision because you're not prioritizing your own interest that are going to integrate in their house. How can we come to prevent this on our channel? At least first, we are bad like you start like betting weird ideas, but second, we are supporting an idea that was like in the majority of the causes. And if you don't buy this, at least we have more checks and balances. We are ready to pursue. We're going to the second question. You can go through it.
Okay, what's an example of the bad decision made by the administration and also an example of how corruption has gotten particular player into it?
We already explained to you how in Northern House you have like the president, all these stuff has like their own interests, that the clubs are like acting as business stuff. Nowadays you have to engage with this. Second, both banks agree that we will like to want the best things for the team, but we disagree in how we actually achieve this. One our way is better to achieve the best thing for the team. First, if you buy your case that like you already have good decisions, notice that the clubs have like 2 matches per week. They have to train, they have to travel for a lot of things. This means that even if the president have like good intentions, probably they have to travel a lot and work a lot. And second, the president have a lot of pressure. They probably will take their rational decisions because the fans are pressuring a lot. Why this is so important to go to the Northern House? Notice that the supporters transpass stuff and make like bad things only because they don't have any mechanisms to actually influence the ideas of the team. They only make bad things like that and try to vandalize all the stuff because they feel that they don't have any mechanism that actually help them to influence the idea of the club. On our side, we have this. We can prevent all this pressure and all this irrational decisions because Because on our side, we change this by one, we have less expense for the club, the fans like breaking something they stated, but more than this, we have more rational decisions because we don't have all this pressure, because this pressure occurs because this fans don't have any mechanism to actually influence the ideas of the club. Second, why fans can have better decisions on our house? First, what does the club's president stay on a specific time in the club? In the maximum, they stay like 4 years in the club. I believe this is extremely important because one, they have a temporary knowledge of the club. And with the fans like the club since 20 years, I believe they have more knowledge of how this structure actually works like. In their house, we have a temporary president that actually is changing a lot. They'll be able to have like a good knowledge on this team. Second, why this happens? Second, I believe the fans does not have individual interest. Why this happens with practice? One, corruption stuff. We're not able to pursue why these presidents are actually like looking for political stuff and all this thing. Second, the relation with this. Both in Flamengo 2019, like they spent already 300 million to buy like big players and good sponsors, but instead of like invest some money in infrastructure and all these things. All the exporters were saying, we have to invest in your infrastructure because that's really bad. In the end of the day, all the Flamengo's like training center got fired because it was extremely bad for the team. Why this appears only because the president have bad ideas? Because first he wants to prioritize their own things by trying to make good things like for sponsors and other things, but more than this, he does not listen to the fans. The upside of this is that it creates a risk for corruption in our house to prevent things on our side of the house. Notice that we're ready to do how we want to have better decisions on our side of the house, because we actually like can have one plurality of ideas, but we won't have all this like own interests that they have in their side of the house. Actually,
Thank you so much for this guys. And now we will go third up to wrap up this part of today.
Reminding everyone of the motion, this house will allow fans to veto player personnel decisions of sport club. Now, what is veto? Veto is the right to reject a decision or proposal made by a lawmaking body. Now, how is this related to the motion? The motion is trying to say that these fans should reject the decision made by this player's personnel. Now, if these fans reject this decision, so what is this of this player's personnel? We have a decision. I can tell you that this fan have no right to make decisions with their business, but people have been assigned to do so. Now, before I let you know, I have to report some of the points that the decision said. The decision claimed that the decision is corrupt. But now, like our first speaker said, they have an anti-corruption organization that yes, stop corruption is to go work. The position also claimed that fans know the player very well because they have been watching the videos. That does not prove anything. Because this coach has been seeing the players, see the players playing the football, they have been watching the players do their training. They know everything happening to the players behind the scenes. So you cannot just claim, you cannot just come and say that this fans know the player very well, so they should have this, they have to have the right to make decisions. That doesn't make sense. Proposition also said. Now we accept the fact that fans serve as support for these people. They still don't know what to be anything. But this coach has dealt with the fact during their training, during their weakness, this coach knows their weakness and their strong point. But now this fans just see what happened to this. They don't see what happened to them. So that's no right to any just in this fact that like the position also claiming that these clubs are more profit driven. But how do you make more profit by selling your favorite, their best players because of what the fans see? That's not just making profit. They are playing the best players and actually giving you the profit. So you said that they actually deducts your profit and does not increase your profit. Now, the proposition also made mention of the fact that when fans have right to attend matches and buy interest, I have a club class support because now each club, even if the fan not attend the matches, the club still has support.
Your whole case is about how technicality solves things, how coaches are better, how the administration goes better. Notice how you're subjected to a whole chain of interest, like being a coach, how you're being more prone to consider money after like actually training the team better.
Now, when you have that you make money by training the team better, yes. But now, if they sell the best players, you can actually make money. So the coaches don't know to the fans because the fans don't know anything about the players. They only see what the players do on the field. They don't know anything about the players. So you cannot just come and say you want to change this player because you don't like the player. No, the coaches know the player weakness. The coaches know the player strong point. So the coaches are the ones to change the player and fans have no right to do so. Now, even if the player doesn't watch or attend the matches, the club will still have profit because their club has sponsors. For example, Man United has Dragon Fly. Yes, those are sponsors. Real Madrid has Adidas that are sponsors. So even if these people also watch the matches to give them money, this club still has sponsors to give them more money. Then when the fans decision are not made, this is support the club. For example, the fans who petition for Kobe Manu to play for England in the World Cup still went for every game. Now during the World Cup, the fan wanted Kobe Manu to play in the World Cup. But now England did not accept that. When the fans came out and watched the match, even though Kobe Manu did not play in the World Cup, that shows that even if the fans shoot at them, they don't say attend the match, and this will still have no profit. Now, the most successful club in the world don't let their fans influence the decision. If Real Madrid for Manchester United, this influential club actually let their fans influence the decision because they don't actually care about the fans, they care about their players' personal life. So they actually care about the fans, but the fans don't actually know what happens to the guys. Other example is that the recent slams Paul Pogba received before leaving the Man United. Before Paul Pogba left Man United, actually received slams because he was a plan. That he left Man United. What was Man United? Man United had no small fact. No, Man United.
No, like, what you're trying to say is we still have sponsors, but our case is not about sponsors, it's about people who own clubs. How do you deal with people that has this interest in sponsors, that has this interest of buying clubs and sports corporations? How do you deal with the interest of these companies and these profit-driven people to buy this kind of sports clubs? It's not about the sponsors itself.
Now, like I said before, even if the decision of this part of the government, they will still attend the match, and they will still buy what the sponsors pay of this club. So no matter what they do, they will still attend the match. But they cannot just like leave a club because of the decision they don't make. Before let them know how right to the decision. That the role of fans in the club is just to watch the match and support, not to actually make decisions, because they don't actually give any right to make those decisions. Now the fans didn't know that people were going in. That sentence over in my head, they don't know that it was looking in the distance, but it's pops and no direction of this. That means the fans don't actually know what to do. They just say what you want. They don't actually know how Poga actually work my head in that period of time. They don't actually know what Poga did for my head. They only want to man and Poga to go because it was black. They don't want black to place that. They don't want black to paint white. Now, this is a question of my first speaker said. Now, my first spoke on job allocation, that they have already put, that means there are people that already put in place to make decisions. So far have no right to make decisions. For example, you have money, you have people that are in charge of finances, you have coaches that are in charge of their decisions, you have the manager that is in charge of decisions. So far have no right to actually come to make decisions because there are people that put in place for decisions. Also, first, we also spoke about emotional attachment. Now, fans of them can be biased because they want to support who they like and not who they think can do the job. So, fans, for example, fans in Man United and when he was in Man United, the players would not like Ronaldo because he was too popular. So, when Ronaldo left, Man United did not have was not really in the wrong match because Ronaldo left the team. That's because the fans don't like Ronaldo. I mean, the fans actually have been biased because you just want to support who they like and not who they think is capable of it. My second speaker also spoke on efficiency. Now, if the fans are allowed to make decisions for the players, they will take to still watch the matches. Now, when you debate, we see that we as opposition have given you reasons why this fans should not play, or have given you the impact. If this fans don't, even if this fans don't support the club, or have given you our mechanism. Now, to remind everyone of our model, we think that these fans will have a major role in the sports club. We think that the coaches themselves will be able to know the players better, other than the fans. So these coaches have been there with the fans since they began. So, with this, we are proud to oppose. Thank you.
I'd like to begin at 3, 2, 1. My name is Share Opponent's team. Who pays for these players? What is an example of bad decision made by the administration? What is an example of how corruption has gotten the player? These are all questions that the professional side failed to answer. But then, bring this back to our case. Now, we get points such as emotional reasoning, job allocation, and efficiency. Two of which is not fully engaged to, which is emotional reasoning. We did tell you as a professional side how this particular emotions of these fans get into their actual decision making on how players should sign, drafted, and their actual contracts. As we give examples as Ronaldo, Jude Bellingham, Paul Pogba, and the rest. Now, we also gave simple examples for how this is true. Let's not give examples of how bad decisions do actually affect these clubs. Now, taking them at their best case, which they brought up as corruption. Talk about fans making decisions that favor the club. They were able to prove to you that these fans tend to favor their own people while minimizing the others in case of efficiency, as my second speaker brought up. We win this papers because we are able to prove to you that having new people, such as sports directors, managerial committees, decision-making officers, coaches, and the rest, tend to bring about the best results as they live with them every day. Now, look at it this way. Even if there was a degree of corruption involved, it's highly unlikely that will be in all these particular aspects. Because for a player to actually be drafted into a team and for them to actually have contract negotiations, they have to get it by a recruit officer. And this recruit officer brought down to the imaginary committee, the coach, and the sports director. They fail to understand how these particular sponsors will influence each and every one of these particular people and organizers. Now, bring this back, who pays for these players? They said yes, the fans should have actually have the opinions, or they have the rights to put in their opinions about these particular players. But we say that's false because one, they are not the ones who actually bring in the funds for these players. They already established in this way that yes, by fans having membership, they do pay a particular amount of money to the club. We established too that sponsors pay the amount of money to the club. Now, sponsors bring out a great amount of money to the club, as they already established also, as some things are named after sponsors. Now, sponsors, if you have listened to this page, already pay large amounts of money and incentives to get these actual players. So what is the whole point of bringing actual fans into this? And then also they mentioned the fact that these particular sponsors help in many other aspects. Now, we'll still win this debate. Yes, the investment administration are corrupt there, administration are profit driven, because they give out most of their efficient players, as in the case, the example given of Samuel Eto'o, regardless of their possible emotions. They fail to prove to us how exactly this corruption disrupts the actual decisions and brings down the name of the club. We are giving examples of major clubs that don't allow their actual fans to put in this particular decision making into play, like Real Madrid, which works mainly on improvement, coach facilities, and management facilities, Manchester United, and the rest, where this corruption comes into play is where they prioritize discussion over how these actual players are gotten is how they really lost its base. And for all these reasons, we get to the post. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Speech and now we have a proposition reply to the chapter in the whole here.
This debate has two big questions that need to appear. On which side there is better decision taken by experts? Well, there's two questions that we have in this debate. Firstly, the first question is why does this if these companies and these profit-driven investors are actually buying these companies? The English of this debate is about how this is going to factor profit over actually achievements in sport. What we already explained to you is how we have a lot of visibility on this kind of sport, so it's going to be great for you to actually buy this kind of thing. But secondly, there is a lot of money in this kind of company. Because actually when you sell a player 100 million, it's like everything that we have in football, because of all this kind of ads and all this kind of money that actually circulates in this kind of economy. Because a lot of people buy merch and all that. You're going to receive a lot of profit over it when you sell players, when you get all this kind when you get all this kind of opportunities that you have inside. When you're trying to push over that, they think, oh, we have sponsors, and sponsors they have interest to actually act over companies. I don't realize why you should not buy that, because I don't see why sponsors they would completely take over the console or something like that, and will be able to do this kind of same thing that we have on our side. It's not clear why necessarily this is sponsored. They should have all this power and all that, and they had the burden to explain to you why that would be true. The implication of this around is that the most problem that we have that on our side we're going to have our characterization tests on how mostly we have this kind of profit driven only on their side and not on our side, because the sponsors is just an ad. Nike is in the shirt of a specific team and that's it. They pay money for it and they put it there. It's like an ad. They never explain to us why necessarily this is the point. The second point that we have throughout this debate is on which side we have a better decision taken, that is the central aspect. They have basically two pushes. Firstly, because this guy is driven by opinion, and secondly, because this guy is going to have some more bias and some more conditions related to racism or thinking that someone is beautiful and due to that claim this guy. The problem with these mechanisms is that they have some burdens that they need to explain. Firstly, why opinions they are so bad? Because literally framing this debate for people who are literally having membership and who are related to this team for more than 5 years. Why necessarily the opinion of a guy who's scoring his team and knows oh, this guy is playing very badly is that bad? I believe that they never deal with that. Even if they get in their best and they think about emotions and all that, we already have a way on this that I already explained on my FT. Why is it better to think about keeping one player for now that is better should be keeping one player that is good for now, then giving a shot and saying, oh, maybe in the future this guy is going to be better. But more than that, the second thing about oh, because we're going to see bias related to probably this guy is very beautiful or something like that is extremely unreasonable. Probably someone who watches football is not related to eat. Someone who watches football is thinking about actually the development of his team. I don't sign the membership of my team to actually see beautiful guys. If the other guy on earth score goals, I will be fine with that. This is the interest of this guy on the end of the day. What we have on our side is basically on how we explain to you how we are able to actually fix problematic decisions that are made by this profit-driven decisions that we have by this companies. So at least to a certain degree, we can mitigate the impact of it, because when they need to do actually bad things to the accomplishment of its financially, or thinking about the development of the club, people who actually know about it and care really about the club and not about money are going to be able to deal with that. But in a clear way here, on our side, where we avoid this kind of profit-driven stuff, we're actually going to be able, as I explained to you, to deal to a certain degree with oh, yes, we are going to have a very good player that probably on our side is going to be, because he's doing very badly, probably this guy is going to get out, so we never know if he probably will get a better chance in the future, if he would start playing better. But on their side, probably the way it's going to happen is that good players who are inside of the team are going out. In the comparatively, I prefer to keep what is smart safe for now, like who is actually the image of the team overall, then give a shot for someone who is like completely lost and not necessarily going to be the